we all telepathic?
Absolutely. We're all telepathic. We all have clairaudience. Clairaudience is clear hearing. There's different categories of abilities. And so there's different ways that we can be clairaudient, whether it be we feel a change in our body, a healing in our body. It's spiritual messaging that when it comes through us or into us, we're able to convert into insight, inspiration, and messages. So ask the angels to gift you with the messaging you need, and then trust that your body will convert it into a medium you can understand.
Hi everyone, welcome back. I'm Michael Sandler, your host on Inspire Nation. If you've ever wanted to discover your telepathy or hear from the other side, then do we have the Raise Clairaudient Energy show for you. Today I'll be talking with Cyndi Dale, intuitive healer, energy worker, and the author of many brilliant books on energy, the chakras, and another new favorite of mine, Raise Clairaudient Energy. And that's just what I want to talk with her about today, about discovering our telepathy and how to use our clairaudient superpower. So welcome back to the show, Cyndi. Are you ready to shine?
I'm ready to shine. I'm ready for all of us to start hearing what we're supposed to hear, too.
Woohoo! All right, then, before we dive right into things, are we all telepathic?
Absolutely. We're all telepathic. We all have clairaudience. That's the kind of umbrella word that includes telepathy. Clairaudience is clear hearing. And we're all hearing all the time, right? We're all feeling through our bones and our skin, which is how we get noise in when we hear it actually in our words. We all have that ability. There's different categories of abilities within clairaudience. And so there's different ways that we can be clairaudient. So I think that's the way to approach it, is kind of going, well, how do I do it? What's my style? What's my best case scenario?
Very cool. And we're going to dive into a bunch of the different styles and ways that we can do that. Do you think, though, people are becoming more energetically sensitive, more clairaudient now than ever?
I think they are, because they have to. I mean, we know that there's a lot going on this planet. Uh, the dark is rising, the light is rising. And one of our main vehicles for continuing to be, a channel of the light, to bring truth into a world that so often dims truth. I mean, we've all seen it. We're all living inside of that, is clairaudience. So I think not only are we becoming more clairaudient, we need to be. I even have perfectly, okay, this word is like a stretch, but
Yeah.
normal people contacting me can't, constantly, not people who are already, oh, I'm a healer, I'm an intuitive, doing this, I'm doing that, I'm taking intuitive classes, going, why am I hearing things? Like, what are those knocks in the middle of the night? Why do I think I know what my dog is saying to me? Well, you probably are all turning up and on. And I don't know about you, but I know when mine has been developing, kind of over the decades, every time it goes up a little bit, I get a little startled. I'm like, wait a minute. What am I supposed to do with all this? So it's a really good thing to talk about on that really knock on wood practical level, not just the, hey, let's raise high the roof beams carpenters kind
Yeah.
of thing.
I want to keep things grounded today. So I'm not going
Good.
to really take us down the rabbit hole. But I have been seeing things lately. Like, we live on a lake. I look outside and 1 minute there's a boat and the next minute there's not. Or we went hiking yesterday and 1 minute there's a little boy running behind a guy and there's not. This is what you're talking about, this raising to a new level.
I am. And just to be not grounded for another minute. All right. And then we're going to give a lot of how to's. What is clairaudience? How do you open up your telepathy? How do you make it useful for yourself and others? The edges are blurred. We always talk about the veils between the worlds. Well, you know what? There really aren't veils between the worlds anyway. And now we're becoming aware of it.
Thank you. It's a perfect segue. Are there signs that we are awakening, or that this clairaudience, this gift, has been awakening inside of us?
Absolutely. So, on an individual level, if you know that you're getting more dreams in which there's revelation, you're shown things, you're able to work through, kind of something that's been plaguing you that you didn't even know. I think sometimes for a person, you can even have increased bouts of anxiety or a down feeling that you can connect to. oh, I need to work this through because you're being raised to a higher standard. You hear more, you turn on the radio and you hear a message. It doesn't have to all be this ooey stuff, right? It can be billboards that stand out that tell you what you need to know. Universally on this planet globally, I personally think what's happening in the Ukraine is a standard bearer. I mean, Zelensky standing up and speaking truth. We're listening. More people than not are listening to the truth and representing it. I mean, that is a beautiful sign. I don't, of course, none of us like war and death, but people are standing for something and speaking it. Is that not a sign that there's more heaven bleeding into this planet or waking up in it?
It's fascinating because there's a show going live today with Dr. Eben Alexander, author of Proof of Heaven, just as we speak. So, what do physical and subtle energies, as we're laying this foundation for clairaudience, what do physical and subtle energies have to do with clairaudience?
Well, everything. So everything's made out of energy. Einstein said it. We just keep proving it over and over and over again. Thoughts are energy, feeling, dogs, snackies for dogs. I mean, roosters, whatever it is you're talking about is energy. But we don't really understand it, certainly when we come out of the school system, that the majority of energy is subtle, not physical. Now, I think they're one and the same energy. It's just what do we know how to perceive
It's just
versus what
along a
don't we?
bandwidth,
It's
what
a
wavelength,
bandwidth,
for
it's a
instance.
continuum. Absolutely. 20 years ago, they were measuring the electrons of a person could be found a football field away. That means 20 years ago we knew that somebody's light was a football field away, but now we know there's subatomic particles, there's all kinds of stuff we haven't even labeled yet. So 99.999% of a person, an object, is subtle or less measurable. When I was being raised to do energy work, we didn't call it energy. We called it intuition or psychism. It was called psychic energy. It's the same subtle energy, our biofield. We just have more glamorous terms for
Yeah.
what we used to call things, a couple decades ago. Now we're making it science. It's always been science. Science and spirituality have always been the same. So when we're being clairaudient, when we're hearing or communicating with verbalism and psychic or subtle energy, it's just the subtle side of reality. That's all we're doing is we're focusing on that.
Thank you. So let's go from there. We're going to go into the Clairaudience Toolkit. We're going to help people get started. And I want people to come away from this today with a greater sense of their own clairaudience, of this gift. So, what is, and we're going to go through a few exercises here if it's all right, spirit to spirit, and can you teach it to us?
Absolutely. This is the exercise that was revealed to me many, many years ago to use really for anything, but especially when I'm going to be activating and accessing my intuition. So, the only term we need to define, because the exercise is spirit to spirit to spirit, right? Is spirit. What spirit? I'm a spirit. You, Michael, are a spirit. A spirit is our essence. So, this exercise is all about coming from our spirit, interacting with the spirits of others, and turning everything over to greater spirit. So, we're both going to go through this at the same time. In fact, I'm going to go through it with you. I'm going to focus it, and then
Perfect.
you're going to be my second step. Okay,
Okay.
Michael? All right. So, when I'm going to interact, I first affirm or acknowledge my own spirit. So everybody out there is doing this for themselves.
Mhm.
Then we acknowledge, and we're all doing this for you, Michael, right? You and your beautiful growing family. We're acknowledging your spirit. Does that feel lovely? Isn't it loving? It's so much love. And in that second step, we're affirming all the helping spirits, the spirit allies. And your spirit's going to decide what to let in. So will that of your beautiful growing family. So we're not imposing our will, we're allowing love. And then the third step is it's like let go, let God, turn everything we're about over to the greater spirit. And in that place, you, Michael, and your family receive, what's in line for you.
Mhm.
And if we get messages, if we're part of a process with you or in our own lives, right, we'll be given whatever we need too. I do that 3-part exercise before every client. I do it before I go to the doctor. I mean, it's a way of living to train ourselves to be about that spirit world at all times, all the way down into chemical and physical.
Beautiful. And I want you to take us through an exercise where this is basically spirit to spirit to spirit. You're plugging that in with every single exercise we're going to talk about today. We'll get
Yes.
there later, but before the doctor's visit, you go spirit to spirit to spirit. And afterwards, I'm imagining you're getting out your giant shears and you are cutting any cords or connections that don't belong there as well.
Yep, you're clearing, you're disintegrating those cords. So cords are like, they look psychically like garden hoses. You don't want cords, right? You don't want those. And because they're contracts and they keep you in a restricted kind of an arrangement with another person, another being, an entity, a deceased, group of beings, whatever it is. So we tend to have cords in our early family system, right? When we're born and, oh, we got to give mom a little energy to help her out. And maybe we take on some of her energy that's not so healthy. And then we get sick all the time because we're processing what's not working for her. So think about as we go through a lifetime how easy it is to establish hundreds, if not thousands, of these garden hoses that limit us or other people. So even going to the doctor, you might have established a little connection based on one you had in your family or other relationships or other lifetimes. Let's go do the weird for a minute. Or even with that doctor, we're compelling them to tell us we're fine or whatever it might be, right? So you can simply do spirit to spirit. It doesn't have to be a big aggravating process to release cords. You just do spirit, my spirit, other spirits, greater spirit, and then we just ask for cleansing. I believe that always available are what sometimes I call streams of grace. They're actually scientifically kind of viable energies that stream all the time called scalar waves. I love the word grace because it leaves love in motion.
Mhm.
So after I do spirit to spirit, if I want to release something or bring something, positive to me or somebody else, I just request the streams of grace necessary. They'll disintegrate cords, fill me back in, bless somebody, provide protection. Very simple tool you can use for anything. You don't have to have 48,000 tools. You
So,
can have these too.
So I want to go through a full exercise to awaken our clairaudience. But before we do that, we might as well go through streams of grace. You've gone to the doctor. Before you went to the doctor or before you walked in, you did spirit to spirit to spirit. You leave the doctor's office. Maybe it was even let's go there. Let's say it was a little bit weird, awkward. Something felt off.
Right.
I'm not going back there. And you want to make sure you've cleared. How would we do a healing stream of grace?
All right, so we pause. You can actually keep walking. You can be in the elevator. You don't have to look bizarre when you're doing spirit to spirit. You can be talking and nobody knows you're doing it. It's
Mhm.
that quick. All right, so let's just practice it. Whatever scene people want to imagine in their head that they're still feeling, right? You're still feeling a little rocked from doctor, in laws, I don't care. So just focus on it for a second. You affirm your spirit helping spirits to include the other person or group that felt off with you.
Mhm.
Turn it over to greater spirit. And then from the middle of your heart, I think we have a God spot in here where we have that bit of the divine mixed with us, even physically. In that God spot, and now you're all doing it, you just request streams of grace. And then you know what? Feel them. They come, they're disintegrating cords, they're balancing you, they're balancing the other person or people. It is so easy, fast, and effective.
What do you visualize as a stream of grace? What does that look like to you?
It's different for different people. For me, they look like big beams of light. And when I get really caught up in them, I notice that some have polka dots and some are pink and some are purple and they combine. Some people are a little bit more verbal, like a clairaudient person, if that's their main gift. So they'll more like hear them. They're going to be like vibratory hums. Most of us are very, very kinesthetic or empathic, and so you're gonna feel them, and I often feel them too. Like, I can kind of feel one. I must have had some kind of cord operating in my stomach today. I don't even know who it was to be honest, because when we were doing that exercise, I felt literally like some big, beautiful ball of energy, some beam of energy go into my stomach
Yeah.
and clear it out, and then just go right back out. So you don't even have to always know what they look like, what they sound like, and what they're for. They just work. It's the gift that keeps on giving.
Thank you. All right, so let's go from there. Let's go to the full exercise to awaken our clairaudience.
All right. So just as a setup, usually clairaudience is associated with what we call the fifth chakra. It's often seen as blue. It's in the throat. We're going to also, though, be working with the back side of the throat chakra because, from a technical psychic point of view, we get data in through the backside and then it goes up and down. Our brain interprets it. And if we're to speak something or know it, that's kind of done through the front side.
Yeah.
All right. So just take a couple deep breaths. Just feels so easy to just breathe, doesn't it? Don't go worrying about a task or erase that list that you've got just for a minute. Give your brain a little time out. Give yourself a time out and just breathe deeply. Because in that process of breathing, you know that every time you breathe in, you're letting spirit bring to you what you need. And every time you exhale, you're releasing what you don't need. All right, so affirm your spirit. Now we really know how to do this. And then ask to be interconnected with all the helping and guiding spirits are going to turn on your clairaudience to a safe level. And I like the word safe because you don't need to be awoken by voices in the middle of the night unless they're worthwhile. And then you just simply turn this process over to that greater spirit and request that the streams of grace that are most supportive of you be provided. Now, they'll come to you.
Mhm.
They'll actually also open up inside of you. And we're first going to really concentrate on that throat energy center because you're going to feel, sense, or see these streams cleaning your fifth chakra. Well, got a lot of stuff in there. Maybe it's not even our stuff. Things we heard that we didn't want to hear, things we wanted to say, we never got to say. So that's being cleansed. And really deliberately, your guidance is opening up again in a secure way the backside of your neck, all the way up to your occiput and down to, kind of where you're, kind of the area of you're starting to get your shoulder, kind of sensations. And you might actually see or feel like some kind of a light coming in through that backside, maybe even moving up and down through your body, but certainly your gifting is being activated or reactivated. Moving, those streams are moving all the way through from the backside to the front side and then around you to establish like a protective bubble. So what you receive will be clearly meant for you, healthy and supportive. There you go. Just kind of focus
Woohoo.
right back in your breath. You did it. We're on. We're ready to go. We're ready to rock and roll in here.
All right, so we're going to play with clairaudience here today. Does it, though, come and go? Like in your life, you talked about it was on for a while, it was off for a while, and then it
Yeah.
came back.
Yeah. When I was a kid, I heard everything. I heard spirits, I heard ghosts, I heard angels, I heard like all this stuff. Turned off for a while, came back on when I started therapy as a patient when I was about 19, 20. All of a sudden, I was hearing things in the middle of the night, and my voice being called, and I heard conversations from beings or people who weren't clearly present. And then I was really developing my clairvoyance for about 10 years, the vision. And so the clairaudience turned kind of off and backseat again. And it does kind of turn on in different capacities. My son, my college baseball player son, was here through the summer last year, and his clairaudience was turning on. He kept hearing voices from his closet. Now, it wasn't really the closet, right? It was like my deceased mother and beings waking him up and talking to him. So my gifts turned on even more because I'm in the same house
Mama
as him.
bear also.
Mama bear going, now they better say nice things to my boy. Right? So his were turning on and mine have been really clear sense. Like when I'm working with a client, I just hear things. It's not like it's in my voice. We assess, is it my voice, something else? You can get clairaudience and it's your voice. It doesn't mean we're wise too, right?
Mhm.
We have a wise self, but it's others' voices. And sometimes when I'm with a client, like I feel like I'm really having a 10-way conversation. I'm hearing different beings talking like, well, tell him this and tell him that, and don't do this and don't do that. And it's actually quite fun because it's not scary. So let it proceed open. Don't be scared if it turns down for a while because then it's just sort of transforming.
Thank you. On that note, you're hearing the closet. It's not the closet. Although I like to stay and play in the light, it's important that we go there. Can you tell us about negative entities and even what's the goal of negative entities?
Absolutely. There are negative entities and they're just like people. Let's be real. You meet any number of people as the week or the, kind of months go on, and every so often you scratch your head and you go, that person's manipulative. Or they don't want to do their own work. They want me to do it for them. We may have been raised with real people, a couple of them who were like that. Entities, what we tend to in the, sort of Abrahamic community call, demons, they're just beings, they're souls who might be more manipulative, kind of not wanting to do what they need to do or not wanting to, kind of be connected to the oneness. And so they want to use you or take your energy or do anything like that. They're just like people. So we don't want to be scared of people like that, but we want to either avoid them or know how to deal with them, right? If they
Yeah.
show up and separate out. So we need to do that with entities too. You want to have filters and you want to have screening. Several years ago, when my son Gabriel was about 4 to 5, had his own room. I'm in a room near him, and he kept, like they do anyway, crawling into bed with me. And he goes, Mom, the toys are making noise at night. And I'm like, the toys are not making noise at night. And like, how would I doubt him? Look what I do for a living.
What was it?
So,
Close Encounters? Was that the
uh,
one with the had the
well,
little toys that were actually?
yes, yes. So I went into his room one night, left him, sleeping in my bed, went in there. Buzz Lightyear was going off to, wherever he goes and beyond. I mean, the toys were talking. It was like a comic strip. And I tuned in, and here's the closet. My son must have a thing about closets. So I could see intuitively this big, beautiful beam of light in his closet. And I saw this angel in there talking to me and saying, well, there's a portal in here, and we're bringing little kids who have died through the portal to the heavens, but some of them really like your son's toys, so they come out and they play once in a while. I mean, oh, isn't that precious? So, but you know what? So what I did is I asked the angels, you can keep the portal there, but can you just put some toys of light in there so the little kids, kind of have their own toys or squishy bears or, whatever they need on their way to their next place, so we don't necessarily need to bring that into the bedroom. And then we never heard a toy talking again.
How do I segue from toys talking to protecting ourselves?
Well,
How do you protect yourself from the toys?
I know, the big toys. But it's the boundary thing, right? If you hear something that you don't want to be hearing, just set a boundary. Just say, I don't want to hear this voice at night, or I want my guides to speak to me in a different way or a different time, or I don't want to hear the dark stuff. I don't want to hear all the warnings, that what might be happening in the world if I can't do something about it. A lot of it is plain old common sense and self empowerment.
With that said, I have another kitty cat, the love bug. She's been going up to a mirror by the entranceway of this house lately, and we just moved here a few months ago. And she has been staring into this mirror, and it's clear she's not looking at a reflection behind us because she's looking down. It's almost like looking into another dimension, and she keeps watching things moving. Yesterday, I'm having a meeting with a gentleman about getting some help for our YouTube channel, and I'm hearing Spirit saying, because my attention's starting to drift, and Spirit's saying, pay attention. This is very important. Do not go anywhere. Do not drift. This is important. Listen to him. And then I see Lovebug doing this a few minutes later. And then, bam, a picture behind me falls off the wall. It's a map. And the map, like the world, flipped upside down.
Well, that's loaded on every level. Right? So, first of all, your kitty cat, and cats are known for being psychic, actually, in studies. It's very clear that they sense things before they happen and they know about other dimensions. Science has proven we exist in at least 11 dimensions simultaneously. All right. So, and the brain processes in at least 10 of them mathematically. So, let's just do some science in the middle of the woo woo and go, we are multi-phased beings. All right.
Perfect.
Okay, so here's your kitty watching what's happening in whatever you want to call spirit realm and knowing something's going to happen. You use your own clairaudience to be alerted to, and I like to go up and then down. Like I like to go straight to spirit
What does that
and then,
mean? Up and then down?
well, if I'm going to tune in
Yeah.
clairaudiently or any other way, I like to go to God and then just say, you assign different beings to me if you want others to talk to me. Right?
Cool.
So go to spirit and come from there. All
Highest
right.
level and bring it down.
Highest level and then bring it down. It'll save all of us a lot of pain, right? You don't want to get caught up in riffraff.
When I teach automatic writing, which
Yeah.
you call a different term than automatic writing, but when I
But
teach
there's
that,
automatic writing. Yeah.
is I have go to the highest level first. That way, you're not just throwing a net, casting a net out to whomever out there.
Absolutely. And so the being, spirit, whatever that big being is giving you a message, needed to make it absolutely without a doubt concrete. So I interpret that you have, I'm sure, your own interpretations. Like the world is turning upside down right now, isn't it? So
is.
it is. It's upside down. It's inside out. I believe we're all being tasked to say, kind of to spirit, what's my place? What am I to do? What are you to have me do? And when things bleed through to the physical, whether it be we feel a change in our body, a healing in our body, right? Something, topples in the room, it's because we need to pay attention. I had that happen a few years ago. My youngest, he's like gifted, as you can tell, was playing in the living room with a little friend of his. They were probably 8 or 9, and they weren't anywhere near this one corner of the living room. And all of a sudden, three things fell over, like a lamp, like part of a sofa kind of fell off. And I mean, big stuff. Part of the TV shifted. And this little boy, Jacob, said, what is that? And my son said, oh, that's God. The little boy was, well, that doesn't happen in my house. And it happens in your house, Michael,
Yes, it
right?
does. Well, we have doors open. Jessica wanted me to ask because I feel like they're benevolent. Whomever or whatever is here seems to me to be loving. Opening doors to allow
Completely.
kitty cats to go through that a door is fully latched. Or it was windy 2 days ago. I checked, made sure when I went to bed the door was fully locked, closed, and then in the morning the door goes boom, and you're like, I get it. You're here.
And that's a really good point, that we get to decide only that which is beloved or treats me like a beloved or is benevolent can be here in this house. We have the power to state that and allow that to be so.
What would be a good statement? So you feel something go bump at the night, and you want to establish those boundaries. What would you say?
Well, you can say it in your head or you can say it out loud, depending on what works best for you. And you might want to say, if you're of God, you can stay, or spirit, or universe, or goodness. I don't care about the term. It has to mean something to you. If you're of God, stay and be known. If you're not, leave. The universal rule is it must obey. But you have to know you have the right to make a proclamation like that, too.
Thank you. So, on that note, how do we assess if the source, where is that source? So I heard a voice yesterday saying, pay close attention. How do I assess that is well-meaning, high-level spirit? How do I assess that is well-meaning, high-level spirit rather than something else going?
Exactly. Well, I sort of inferred this already that the majority of our gifts are very body based, they're empathic, they're kinesthetic. I use my body senses. I don't feel and I don't experience intuition as being separate from my body senses,
Yep.
taste, smell, any of these, kind of ways of knowing. So I know it sounds kind of goofy, but I can typically smell if an entity or an energy is not good. It doesn't smell right, it smells bad versus nothing or perfumed or like fresh air. So I can smell something that doesn't seem good. My hair will prickle if something's scary or dangerous. Oftentimes if something's negative, like it's malevolent, it's manipulative, let's use those words, right? It my body gets really, really hot, like too hot, like that smelly adrenaline hot, or it
Mhm.
gets very freezing. Your body will let you know. Sometimes you'll get an image. You can stop and go, I'd like an image. Is this of the light or the dark? Simple language, light, dark. Get it in your head. All right. Or you can tune into its vibration. And if you don't trust it vibrationally, like your body's like, ooh, I don't like this, don't trust it. So use your body, use your senses. And here's the key, Michael. I know we all work on this. Trust it. Trust yourself. Don't trust so much what it might be saying. If it doesn't feel good, it's not good.
And I'm doing a lot and doing it here as we're doing an interview. I'm in the middle of continuously muscle testing and checking in. That's my language that I use with my body. So, for instance, I'm listening to this not editing gentleman, YouTube gentleman, who, in a sense, to work with him would, in a sense, be flipping the world upside down. And I'm going, oh, I don't know if I want to do that. And muscle testing is like, you're going to do it. You're going to do it. You're going to do it. Yes, your world is going to flip upside down. And then you're hearing the voices go, you listen. So it's paying attention to what's fear versus what's actually the message, because your body can be crystalline clear if you really tune in.
And you practice tuning in and you support yourself with it, and you go with it. And if you don't know, because we're just human, we're distracted, we're busy, this and that, my go to is asking for a sign. Well, you obviously got a sign because you got a map all over. I mean, so if
Hello.
you need another one on top of it, but I know you don't.
Kind, gentle, easy, good. If any signs are going to come, kind,
Right.
gentle, easy, good.
I'm confused or I'm not sure, I know that I'm muddled, I will just like, talk to spirit and just say, please give me a really clear sign within the next day or 2 days or 3 days. So I really get the message and I'm going to double check it. Most spiritual books tell you it's okay to test the spirits.
Oh, yeah.
It's okay. It's okay to go, well, I got it once, I need it 3 times. Or I think this feels accurate. I think this feels holy. I want to make sure. So make sure you get the message to me in another way. Test the spirits.
Is this a simple way, or do you have something else you would do as well to make sure it's not fantasy or our imagination, or I'll put it in quotes, wishful thinking?
So I ask for kinesthetic signs, like what you got. I don't want something just coming in a dream, kind of if I'm in a confused place or, oh, I really want to win that lottery. I've never yet won the lottery. Okay.
You have won
Very
$125 at your one time at the slots. I did read that.
You you're right, I did, and then I never gambled again. I do ask for very physical, obvious signs, and that could include overhearing people talking at a coffee shop. Not that we're supposed to do that, but if they're loud, they're loud. I mean, come on. Song on the radio, a book that opens magically in front of me. I go to, a passageway in it. The more concrete, the more I am apt to believe it if I'm in my doubting place. And if I'm in fantasy, right? Fantasy is sort of like we all like to indulge the imagination, and you can use your imagination to develop your gifts, like practice hearing words in your head, practice reciting poems, practice seeing pictures. But we really want concrete. if we're going to follow the leader, we want to know there's a leader worth following.
Thank you. On that note, what's the gatekeeper exercise?
A gatekeeper is a being who's going to be your go to. So some of us are so open, we're so sensitive, or conversely, we feel kind of stuck. So whether you feel too open, like just way too many things get to talk to you, right? Way too much, or you don't think you're getting, enough insight. What you want to do is go to spirit, use spirit to spirit, go to spirit and ask for spirit to assign you a spiritual gatekeeper, a being who will give you your messages, who you trust. When I really started taking psychic classes, a few decades ago, honestly, my gatekeeper was Archangel Gabriel. Like I could feel him, see him. I'm like, I'm not believing anybody but him. That's it. He showed up for me and I didn't ask for him. It was very clear, like, look, little one, I'm tucking you under my wings. I mean, there's a lot of stuff out there, a lot of dead people who think they know more than the living. They don't necessarily know more. So just go through me. I'll be clear. I'll help you. Some people get dragons, fairies, deceased ancestors. I mean, I think it's kind of fun. And they'll switch as time goes on, too.
My grandmother on my mom's side, when it came, now she was a very strong woman here. We had some healing to do when she crossed over.
Mm.
Um, but she's like, if you've got a negotiation, you come to me before you have that negotiation here on earth. Let me handle it.
Isn't it nice to have somebody like that, even if they're like not quite here, but they're smarter at that level? She was. So there's times in our lives where we're going to get specific gatekeepers, I think, for specific reasons also.
Thank you. So I'm holding a stone in my hand, and I don't even remember what it's called. My wife got it for me in Sedona, and
Oh.
it is, I'm circulating love. Whenever I'm holding this, I'm sending love, and it helps ground me. I've used other stones for this work in the past. This seems the most grounding. Are there stones that are beneficial for clairaudience, and what are your favorites?
Absolutely. And typically, here's the cheat sheet. They're going to tend to be green or blue, though you can also use purple or white. All right. Turquoise has been used in various cultures in Central and South America, kind of for gaining the wisdom of the gods. Any version of chrysocolla, again, of turquoise or those kind of beautiful blue stones. I like lapis, that deep, deep, deep dark blue, almost purple stone because I'm very flighty. Like, not that you can't tell, right? I love like swimming in the universal, kind of rivers, and I need to be grounded. So the dark of the lapis is very grounding for me. And it helps me just kind of say, I only want to hear what I'm supposed to hear. Use whatever stones work. Some people actually like amethyst, even for clairaudience, though that's typically clairvoyance because it deflects negativity. And the white color of it is pure spirit. So you can use any. Go with what works for who you are.
Thank you. We've already been talking a little bit about connecting to a higher level, connecting to the highest level. But what is spiritual telepathy? And even though it's something that I teach, Jessica's like, you're going to ask about something that you teach. I know you know completely different methods of doing this. How do we speak with angels?
Exactly. We do. Everybody comes from a slightly different place. So, in general, typically, when we think about telepathy, most of us kind of limit that to hearing what somebody else is thinking in our minds. I've only done that twice, and I was very startled, and I don't really wanna do it again because I don't wanna know what people are thinking. It's not my business, right? And I don't really like what they were thinking, so it's sorta like, let's leave that alone. But telepathy can also be approached with different chakras, so I like to link different types of intuitive gifts to different of the chakras, okay? So there's, like, primal telepathy where your body is like picking up a message from a being, the environment, nature, whatever it is, and it's being turned into words in your fifth chakra. Spiritual telepathy is when you're getting higher guides sending you information, sending you data, sending you love. It doesn't always come in on a frequency that we easily can turn into words.
Yeah.
And so it's spiritual messaging that when it comes through us or into us, we're able to convert into a poem, a song, when we're talking verbal, maybe a picture, that's clairvoyance. So we're able to turn it into a message form we as humans can understand or share with somebody else. So to me, that's what spiritual telepathy is.
And then connecting specifically to an angel.
Yes, yes, you can, there's all kinds of angels and they are here. I can, when you even say the word angel, Michael, I feel angels. Can't you just feel them? Like a whole flight of them. That's what they're called.
But your son's name is Gabrielle. So, I mean,
It is. And
how
the
do you
oldest
miss
is
that one?
Michael.
Perfect.
I mean, I got my two archangels. I'm good to go, right? And they are constantly telling me what to do, just like the invisible archangels like to do. Like Cyndi, that's a big mistake. Don't date that person or whatever it might be, right? So, we're angels are with all of us. And I believe some angels have incarnated in body too. And so I feel like I'm giving a commercial right now. Like if you believe you've been an angel, believe it. I feel like I'm just broadcasting that to people out there. All right. And I think a lot of the new souls that are in, can have come from angelic realms. So angels want to communicate, they want to help, they want to guide. It can be very helpful to center, do spirit to spirit or your version of it, center in your heart so you're coming from a good place. And you just request that they send you a spiritual message. No, well, you're probably doing it right now. Know that you're receiving it and give permission for your body self, your brain to turn that very high level frequency. I'm getting dizzy into messaging you can understand as a human being. A picture,
Mhm.
a sound that you maybe even utter. We can't hear you. Go ahead and talk right now, sing, those of you listening. Something you can write down, you teach that process, words in your head or or just to be shown later, so it gets clearer as time goes on. So ask the angels to gift you with the messaging you need and then trust that your body, your spirit really will convert it into a medium you can understand.
Thank you. I'm going to go back to a question that I asked in our last interview together. So as you're talking, I've got different images coming to me, and I'm wanting to test or check, are they real or did my imagination make them up? What's the test you have to do that?
So we did talk about this. I was thinking about this before we got on too, right? Because I sometimes have people open up their gifts by practicing the use of them. Like look at, create a tree, put leaves on it, get that third eye open. That's the practicing. It's the muscling, right? To get things done. Do the same in your throat just to get yourself ready. Like hum, think of words, recite them, imagine what somebody said yesterday. But if you want to test a message, what you want to do is fixate on the words, fixate
Mhm.
on the sounds, fixate on the pictures. And now, if you can change them, right? If you can manipulate them with your mind, not like practicing, but if you're manipulating them, that might not be a real message. All right. You might have imagined it. You might have made it up. You might be, kind of trying to make something turn into what you want it to be. Like if I get a picture from an angel, if I try to move the parts of it around, they're not going to move. But I can add to the picture. Like I can ask the angel, will you type a word under the picture so I really know what it's saying? Or will you give me the feeling of the image so I can like grow into that person you see me as? You can add, but you're not going to be able to manipulate if it's real. Does
Thank
that
you.
help?
It does. So
I'm so glad we reclarified that. I'm
two
so happy.
images came to me. Let's play with these. And I've been having conversations with Spirit as you're talking to me. We've got multiple channels. You and I know how to play this game. We've got a bunch of conversations going. So when you said have images earlier, I had me in a coffin. And I'm going, ooh, this is kind of scary. And I'm going, but what does that mean? And they're saying death of the old. And I go, well, but I would think if it's a death of the old that things are going to be taking off. And they show me a rocket ship. And so as you're saying, can you manipulate these images? I'm going to the coffin. Can I change it? No. Can I ask for clarity? They leave the message right beneath it. Death of the old. I go to the rocket ship. Can I put branches on it because you're talking about a tree? No. Can I warp it? Can I twist it? Can I change it? No. You're on a rocket ship about to take off. And there's nothing I can do with the image. It's fixed in there.
That's exactly what I'm talking about. Yes. Like last year, for my son, I often get messages for him for my youngest son. And I didn't ask for one, I got one, I knew he needed it, and it's just it's an image. I can't change it. It's this July, I can see water, I see the color, I know what's happening, and no matter how many ups and downs he's gone through in
Mhm.
regard to this image, the image doesn't change. And he wants to know more. They won't even give me more. They're like, "This is the image. Just trust it, just stick with it. More later." So, you got to take them for where they are.
Thank you. I want to go into natural world, everything from trees and plants and rocks to otherworldly to Palladians to unicorns, all of that for this last little bit. But before we do that, I've got Jessica, who's almost 8 months pregnant, and we have these connections that we're both empathic, her to a whole nother level. But so we get in kind of feedback loops with the two of each other, with the two of ourselves. But how do we practice with a partner? How do we practice telepathy?
Oh, I love that. So one way to do it, and I'm getting this image in my head, to be honest, all right? So make a deliberate like statement, now we are going to practice.
Hmm.
That's what I'm hearing. So I'm giving you an answer I'm getting as we're going, all right?
Thank
So
you.
I get this image of the two of you sitting across from each other, set up the lighting, do a stage, make it quiet, turn off those darn cell phones, and everything else. And it feels like it might be helpful to have a bowl in the middle and have a few questions in there, sort of like, kind of both of you pre-write something you want to work with, know about, do understand about each other, whatever it is. And I just see the two of you like literally drawing,
Yeah.
sort of like when you're doing fortune cookies, drawing it and then working it that way so that you're not pre-programming too much and you're literally in that space of, oh, we're learning, how exciting, this is how I see it, this is how you see it, this is what we're focused on. So you're learning with each other and about each other at the same time. I also feel like when you're separated, like she's at the grocery store and you're doing this or that, I feel like you might want to request that spirit opens up like I don't know what to call it. My guys are calling it an ER channel. Like not, no, it doesn't have to be a danger channel.
I call it the bat line.
Thank you, that's it. Yeah, the little red phone, that kinda stuff, right? Yeah, that you just, every day or 2, you just say to each other, "Bat line open, we're ready, we'll communicate. If I get a message that's for you, I'll get it, give it to you," etcetera. So, I have that with my kids. I have a bat line with them, and sometimes it's for good things too. Like, I'll go, "Oh, something's really good for my oldest son," and I wait and wait and wait for him to call, right? Which he texts anyway. Do you know what I mean? And then and I'll keep like prompting it, like, "Do you have something to share? Do you have something to share?" And he's like, "I'll tell you when I'm ready." So it can be good things too.
Very cool. So now let's go into natural clairaudience, speaking with nature, both as you call it, earthly and otherworldly
Yeah,
beings.
right.
What does that mean?
This is one of my favorite categories of clairaudience because we don't need another person. We can actually, even though it's about nature, be sitting in our home, walking in the forest, gardening or whatever. So nature is an amazing source of insight, inspiration, and messages for us. And when I talk about earthly beings, which I suppose include people, too, because we're earthly, but I don't tend to categorize us in there. I'm talking about real animals, birds, insects, rocks, plants, the stuff that we see, that we hold, that we would study in a botany class or a zoology class. Those beings know they're interconnected to spirit. And most indigenous populations I've traveled in or I've learned from, that's one of their main venues of insights and clairaudience. So, that bird shows up in front of you. It's delivering a message. What's the message? And so be really open to nature and count what's counting itself. So, does that make sense? If you see a tree of crows and you're thinking about something and all of a sudden they all take off, I would be focused on what I'm thinking about and what that crow energy is trying to deliver for me.
We had the coolest experience about a week ago, which I was never planning on bringing up in here. We finally cracked open the hot tub for the season. We got the snow away, and Jessica was brave enough. We got the approval from doctors to go in pregnant. And I don't know what the order was. Maybe the fox was second. First, there was I want to call it a swarm of birds. It was hundreds, if not 1,000 birds dancing over the lake before us, maybe even more than that, thousands of birds. And we watched them dancing around, and then they came down right in front of us. And I didn't know that they make a sound, that there's a sound when it's hundreds or thousands of birds. It's this of them all coming flying past us. And now that you mentioned it, I just backed up and asked the question, what was the message? And the message is very clear. We are all one.
Beautiful.
And that was the message that they were dancing. I didn't know that in this lifetime that I would have 1,000 birds swooping right by me, within 5 feet of me, and go just. And then I think to bring things home, Jessica was talking later on, and she goes, I wonder where the fox went that we used to see crossing the ice when the river or the lake was frozen. We haven't seen Foxy Lady in a while. She turns, and there's the fox walking right past us. So we get to think, what were we thinking at the time? But also, did she say that because she, A, brought Fox about, or her spirit knew that Fox was already there, or Fox had reached out to us?
We don't know. My suspicion would be Fox reached out, right? Because it's the message of the oneness. We're merged, we're interconnected. And what we need really is in nature or up in the stars, coming, to where we are. We have what we need. And the whole universe, excels, like would love nothing better than to show you you are a beloved and to guide you and help you.
Now we're going to go down the rabbit hole. If you haven't fastened your seatbelt yet, we're going down the rabbit hole. So we've got earthly, and we didn't even talk about wind, which is always talking to me, but we've got all of the elements. We've certainly got wind. I'm out yesterday paddling in the kayak and get a, and I'm like, all right, turning around. I get it. I hear you. But then we can go to otherworldly, and we'll get to ETs in a minute. But let's go to some of the crazies: dragons, unicorns, genies.
They're all real. Let's just now I can say that because I'm on your show and I get to say that, right? I'm not out to dinner at some fancy restaurant, being overheard, which I'd probably say it anyway. Think about how interdimensional we are. If scientists know we're in at least 11 dimensions, and that's from a universal perspective, right? Working with time and space, coexisting with us are different realms. Lord of the Rings, that's a realm. I mean, we're not making this stuff up. There's a realm co-present with us, and maybe we've lived in that realm during other incarnations that has beings that aren't necessarily just in our realm, but there's bleed throughs, there's like soft spots, that hedges, they call in the Celtic community, they call them hedges. There's hedges between the world, right? And then there's soft spots where there's interactions. I saw fairies when I was a kid. I knew they existed because I literally saw them, like they were real. I had unicorns appear in dreams. I have clients who have seen actual unicorns when they're walking around. And so there's these edges between the worlds, where there's more of that that can blend. And dusk, dawn, twilight,
Yes.
sunrise. There's natural times in the world, where those hedges or the walls are dimmer, where we're more open and we're more able to perceive.
Do we want them to bleed? I mean, these things have been around. We can look at interdimensional beings. A human horse that would be a cave dwelling from what, hundreds of thousands of years ago. This is not recent human fantasy. Are these beings? Well, actually, let me back up for 1 second. When you say realm, I have a different term that I'm going to use for people. Many people at this point have had an ayahuasca experience or something similar. To me, yep, myself as well, all it is turning the dial from one radio station to the next. That's the difference between this realm and another parallel universe, another realm that is coexisting in the same space and time, just on a different channel.
Yes. Short answer, yes. It is. It's attunement. You ask the question, do we want these, kind of walkthroughs? Need to be functional. Okay.
Thank you. That is the reason if somebody said, Michael, you've been playing with this game so long, why aren't you hearing and seeing things all the time? I'm like, I'd be hiding under the table.
I'm a big one for functionality. All right. When I'm driving, I do not want to get distracted and take somebody else out on the highway. So we want to be functional. We want to be aligned. We want to be vertical with, spirit and our own spirit and earth. Right. And then the dial can spin a little bit when it's beneficial, only beneficial for ourselves, or, in rare cases, for other people too. Functionality cannot be set aside.
Did you hear that doorbell a minute ago? Bleep,
Yes.
bleep.
Yeah, I did.
I'm looking at the door. Do you get what I'm saying? That is
I
a
do.
bleep, bleep. That means the door has opened. It's
I'm
not a doorbell. It means the door is opened. I've got two possibilities. One right in front of me, it's closed. One right behind me that you would have seen on camera, it's closed.
so that's the other way this stuff happens. We call for it to open, or greater beings decide, look, we got to walk in. We need to be heard. There's something that needs to happen here.
Do we go there? Do we ask? Do we
Yeah.
ask who's coming through and
I
what?
I'm bloody hot, I'll tell you that much. It's a really high advanced being. And let's both share what we hear, because the first thing I hear is just the word love. But
That's a
it's
word
not,
I hear.
oh, isn't that wonderful? Yeah. And it's not just the word. Don't you get the feeling of it too? Big, big, the realness of it. Like I see plankton, like all the way down to the small to the big. Unifying factor is what my guide is saying around it.
I'm just getting love, pure love. In other words,
Yeah.
supported completely and totally, right on track, right where you're supposed to be. And I'm hearing about the door because what that means is home, home, safety, love, supported,
Oh,
which is a message I need to hear right now. I'm going to cry.
yeah.
I'm going to
It's
cry
beautiful.
because we have leased this home to get through pregnancy, and then we don't
Yeah, I
know where we're
remember that.
going. We still don't know where
Right.
we're going. The universe hasn't told us.
Right. You're like Mary, Joseph, and Jesus.
Well, when I
Right?
was reading your book earlier and it's talking about the different chakras, I'm going, this is a root chakra challenge you're experiencing right
It
now.
is. It
Grounding
is.
safety.
Yeah. But that love coming into your home and everybody else's homes right now too,
Yeah.
as well as your heart. You're at home. The image I'm getting, Michael, while we're talking, are hands, the beautiful hands of God. There's female, male, both, all, just like picking your family up and just going like this. And you're supported. I hear the word bridge. I'm hearing to add the word bridge, the bridge of love
Yeah.
to the place of love. That's
Woohoo.
beautiful. That's beautiful.
Last few things, and then I want to send people to where they can find all your beautiful work.
Thank you.
We're talking about dragons. We're talking about fairies. We've got love walking in the door. How do we communicate with ETs? Do we want to? And how do we keep ourselves safe?
Oh, that's a great question. All right. So if you feel led to it, double check. Like, double check inside your heart. Go to spirit to spirit. Like, is this really good for me? Is this going to take me off path, or help me be more on path? Because sometimes, we sort of like to dabble in other things because we're avoiding something in our life. I'm raising my hand. I do that too. So I think that's always a good place of self honesty to come from. It's like anything. There's good ETs, there's neutral ETs, there's indifferent ETs, right? It just works that way. Most of us have come from other planets, at least 27 cultures, at least on this planet, say they came from the stars. Back in the 60s, a number of, indigenous communities came together because they were receiving messages from the stars that they needed to bring to Earth or reawaken to give to this planet. I think we've got lots of beautiful alien star people, star beings, star nations, here trying to help us. And so if you feel, like they can be supportive of you being on your path in the light, do spirit to spirit. You can start tentatively if this is new for you. You teach automatic writing. You can do guided writing where the being's more outside of you, just kind of giving you senses and feelings and messages. So start going into that road and just ask that they communicate to you, with you, through you in a way that leaves you feeling whole, right? And, kind of more excited to get the messages than scared of them.
Beautiful. And then how do we get the messages? Like I've got love bug growth, not right now, this minute, but in general, staring into the mirror right now. I've got Rue, who's the most energetically sensitive being on the planet, a little too much so. I don't actually know how to dial down his sensitivity at the moment. But how do we communicate with a family pet?
Right. Well, I've got family pets and I've always had them, and they seem to know me really well.
Oh, my
I
pets
know,
have me dialed.
I know. That's part of the problem, right? They figure us out. So, in general, pets, different kind of species, have different ways of communicating. In general, they're a little bit more kinesthetic. They send energy messages. The word in my head is energy bombs, and I don't mean bomb in a bad way, like pulses of energy. So it's really helpful to make sure we're in our body when we're receiving or wanting to open to a message from a pet. We want to be in our body, feet on the ground, be open to whatever sensations or feelings they've been sending us. And then, you know what? Ask your own spirit, your own soul to convert what they're sharing with you into a form of communication you can understand. If you're kind of going, well, I have an itch on my elbow. I
Mhm.
know my dog's got an itch on his elbow. What am I supposed to do with that? Right? Then bring the message in and then ask, my spirit with greater spirit, can you turn that into words so I can understand what they're telling me to do? I want words for that or a picture of what to do in response. I send visions also at my dogs. Right now, I'm down from like six different pets over time to two. So I will see an image of what I want to convey to them, go into my body and ask their guides to take my vision and communicate it to them in a way they can understand it too. So you can mix mediums, just kind of work with the guides in order to do that.
I like that because I've been working with Rue right now and
Yeah.
telling him that what he gets to be, even though he's only a 2-year-old, is he gets to be there was a word for it, not messenger of peace, but we'll call him a powerhouse of peace. That this is his new job, is he gets to be a Buddha and hold space. And this is going to take some working with him because he is always watching for us. But to keep himself centered, this is going to be a challenge to a new level. Now, I was communicating with him while you were talking, and he had only one image that he was flashing to me continuously, and that was chopped up orange. He is a nutter right now for citrus.
Isn't that great? They're very practical. Come on, right?
Yes.
My dog, Lucky, all he has to do is look at me like this, and I go, no, you're not getting a treat. I know what you want, right? Honey is an alien. Honey's my golden retriever.
Now, is
He's
this
an
Honey the
alien.
Third?
Honey the third, you're really on top of Honey. This is Honey the third. And I literally had a friend watch him talk to beings who are alien beings. He's the talker. And I think I understand his barks. I know what he's saying. So I can tell he's configured enough to me, right? That his barks go into my body because verbalness is laid out in the skin and in the bones. That literally when he's barking, I just automatically go, "Oh, I forgot to shut the gate. Honey's gonna, Lucky's gonna sneak out the gate." He's really scared. Lucky likes to roam. He's scared that Lucky's gonna get out the gate. It just sort of now happens that I'm able to, kind of go with his vibrations and know what he's saying. And if I don't, he gets very aggravated with me. He'll go,
So last thing then before we go to where people can go to find your work,
yeah.
which is I know I've done it with birds in the distance before where I've tuned in, gone quiet and could tell which direction they were going to swoop, which direction they were going to soar, and I've tuned in. If I look at the love bug in the mirror, or we can even do it with a loved one, we can tune in and start to sense what they are sensing or feeling or saying.
Yes, and that's a merging process. We're not breaking boundaries. I do this with clients. I do this, kind of when I'm led to do this. We do not end at the skin, neither do they. So you're talking about merging. So you give permission for an aspect of your soul, or your biofield, your energy field to move with their field, or maybe go soul to soul with them, right? Then you're kind of in them with them and you're able to know what it is they know. You can even deliver a healing that way. You can leave what they need, or you can take what they're trying to give you, or see what they're seeing as well. I think it's a beautiful way to work as long as we hold that sense of respect, right?
So,
For them and us.
so your client comes in, and you may not do it on a verbal level, but you're saying, "Do I have?" You're talking to your client spirit. Do I have permission to merge with you for this moment?
Yes, and I have that happen at least 5 or 6 times a week. Sometimes a client is working on trauma. They're not gonna go there. They're really scared. It's really hard, what they're trying to remember. So I'll ask them for permission, or spirit gives me permission to kind of go to that into their young part and sense some of it. I don't absorb it, but healing often requires that somebody knows what you've gone through, that they're witnessing and feeling with them. And however I'm guided, I may say, I feel like, this is what you were feeling. And they'll start crying or they'll go, oh, that's right. And then they work it through because there's somebody else with them in an event or in a situation.
Beautiful. Thank you. So,
Beautiful.
where can people go to find your work and find out more?
Very simple, cindydale.com, spelled weird because what I do is weird. CYNDI Dale.com.
Beautiful. And before I go get Rue for a brief meditation, it felt important to talk about the 8th and 10th chakras because I think we need to be grounded and connected to heaven and earth to do this work.
Absolutely. So eighth is a little bit above the head, and above it is ninth. So eighth is your shaman portal. Ninth is like your God portal. So let's just sense above our head for a second.
Mhm.
And I think we're helping Rue with this a little bit too. And then we'll bring him into. So you want that heavenly energy coming down through that ninth gold ball of energy into your eighth mystical center, down into your body. Oh, doesn't that feel lovely, like
Mm.
luscious? 10th chakra's under the ground, connects all the way down actually to the center of the earth. So now you're just flowing into the earth in a really unified, safe way. Whatever elements you need from earth, from stars, from spirit, from physicality, they're yours. They're flowing, and you get to expand and be.
Brilliant. On that note, I will be right back with the Rue. I don't know if I just broke a Papa rule or not, but I woke him from a nap, which is very rare. Usually when I come up, he's
Yeah.
not napping. And
Right.
he
He
was in
feels
such
really
peace.
present. He feels really present to me right now, to be
Yes.
honest, Michael. I maybe because he was in that dream state, his heart is so palpable. Like our theme today, I think, is love. I mean, I feel like he's looking in me, looking at me, sharing love and that little bit of excitement, about all good
Yeah.
things. And my sense is he knows about a dimension we don't even know about. Oh, and look at him going like this, right?
Yeah.
Ooh, I met him last time, but this time I'm feeling like I don't know, his nature, his heart, his wow.
All right, we'll sit.
His wow, right?
Yes.
He has things to teach. This is a teacher. But you know what? With Rue, we're just all going to take that beautiful deep breath.
Okay.
We're affirming our spirits. Obviously, Rue's spirit, his beings, his helpers, our own, each other, the greater spirit. And I'm just hearing the word light. Light from above, light from below. One and the same, given to each other. Light from above, light from below, one and the same, given to each other. And then I'm supposed to call Rue the enlightened one. I think that's him talking to me, but I'm certainly not going to argue.
You hear that, good boy. Oh, this has been amazing. Cyndi, he's trumpeting it from the highest mountains.
Amen, amen, amen.
So for everyone out here, this is Michael Sandler and Rue, of course, saying be well, have fun, learn clairaudience today, and begin, I'm surprised you're not bugling, bugling to the heavens today and shine bright. Woohoo! Wow, what a special show with Cyndi Dale, with Spirit, with all the spirits that came to join us, with your clairvoyance power. Wow, wow, wow. On that note, if you want to learn how to channel, do mediumship, connect with the other side in the easiest way possible, one of the ways we were talking about is automatic writing. And you can learn automatic writing right here at automaticwriting.com. We have a whole video-based program and we have live classes each month for the fastest, easiest way to begin channeling with the other side. Of course, you can also join our School of Mystics. So many great mystical friends there as well. That is InspireNationUniversity.com. Classes 4 Wednesdays every month. We got the join button down below to get behind the scenes goodness. Simply click that join button. Of course, click the subscribe button and the bell icon for our upcoming shows, YouTube premieres, and live events every Monday night where you can bring your questions live to me simply by clicking that bell icon. Be sure to share this with everyone you know so we can raise the vibration, raise consciousness, connect to spirit at the max. Here's the link for the next amazing show. Love you guys so, so much. Keep on shining bright. How does it get any better than this, Rue? How does it get any better than this? Woohoo! Love you guys.